Hi, I'm Paweł Spychalski, and a few weeks ago I asked you a series of questions about the RC/FPV hobby. Which kind of radio do you use? Do you use analog? Do you use digital? Are you a crossfire person? Maybe you are sticking with the FrSky? Questions about the type of the hardware and the software we use to fly our drones and airplanes. And now, a few weeks later, it's time to give you, because I already know them, the results of the poll. First of all, I would like to thank really great job, guys, to all the participants of the poll, because I was expecting to get maybe only a few hundred. Instead of that, I got 1,739 answers. And the more answers to the questions, the more precise the information we can get from the poll. I'm not a statistician, so we will not go into the super statistical details about the answer. However, today it's really time to publish the answers to all the questions from that poll. Now, the link to the full details when every question has a screenshot of the graph showing the answers is available on my webpage, and the link to this webpage you will find in the description. There you will be directed to my Quad Me Up webpage, to a specific link when there will be a super detailed information. Now, in the next part of this video, let's just quickly go through all the questions, and let's give a quick comment to the answers to see if this is somehow relevant to us or not so much. First of all, yes, some of the text right now you are seeing on the screen are in Polish, but because the questions were asked in English and the answers were given in English, I don't think there will be much problem understanding what is happening and why. Odpowiedzi means answers and podsumowanie means summary. So let's go through the answer question by question, and you see this is a proof that 1,739 people gave us the nice answers. So first question was, what do you fly? And with this question I wanted to find out which kinds of the UAVs, drones or airplanes are the most popular. And like kinda expected, the multi-rotors, 5-inch multi-rotors, are the most popular class nowadays, because 66% of the people say that they've been flying this kind of the craft in the last 3 months. Next, to my surprise, not so much surprise, the 2 to 4-inch propeller multi-rotors take the second place, and the whoops are on the third place. Bear in mind, this is rather the winter season, so I expect that much more people were flying whoops only because the weather was not allowing to fly anything, well, bigger. I will try to repeat the same question in a few months, somewhere around summer, and then we will know in details how this really looks like. I was kind of surprised to see that only 21% of you use 6, 7 or 8-incher multi-rotors, but on the other hand, this is still much more than the flying wings and airplanes with a tail. And not to my really surprise, the VTOL is only really like the super marginal fraction of our hobby. Also, not too much surprise, majority of the answers to these questions are the FPV, because 56% of you are flying FPV only and 41% fly FPV and line of the sight. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I use following RC links. I will not pretend this was really the most important question I wanted to ask, because one of the reasons I asked all those questions is because I wanted to know how many of you are using the Express LRS. Express LRS has a very active group of fans, and I wanted to compare this with the reality. And those are the answers. Yeah, to my great surprise, the winner of this question actually is the TBS Crossfire, because 55% of you say that you are using the Crossfire. I knew that Crossfire is popular, but I really had no expectation that the number is that big. Not to my big surprise, the second winner, the second most popular link, is the FrSky 2.4 GHz access or ACC ST. You know, the good old stuff with the RXSR and the FrSky radios. And then we have the group of the FlySky. Still, FlySky not that bad with 12% of the market share. FrSky R9, which is really like surprisingly close to the Express LRS, which usually people use the same hardware. So the question is how many of the people migrated from R9 to Express LRS? And then we have other 2.4 system gigahertz, DJI radio you can get together with your goggles, Immersion RC Ghost and TBS Tracer. I do kinda think that the super high number on the TBS Crossfire is because I kinda advertised this poll on the TBS Lounge Facebook group, and this is not really compensated for that fact. But those are the answers, so we do have to assume that yeah, the Crossfire is the most popular RC link nowadays. My radio is, and 50% of you say that you are using the FrSky radio, one of the FrSky radio. And if we compare this, one of the FrSky radios with Radio Masters or Jumper's Radio Kings, we can see how much the FrSky actually lost of the market share. After a year ago, Jumper showed the T16 and, no, that was 2 years ago, my mistake. And a year ago, Radio Masters started promoting their TX16S. Because if we then add 15 to 26, we will end up with the number of how much? 40%. And if we add 40 to 50, that means that at least 2 years ago, FrSky probably had like 90% of the market share. Interesting? Yeah. They are still the behemoth of the hobby, because there is really a huge gap between the FrSky and the Radio Master, not even talking about the TBS Tango 2 or the others. But I think we can safely assume that FrSky is losing the radio market share. That was kinda expected. And now, another question, analog versus digital. To not a big surprise, analog is still definitely winning, because 88% of you say that in the last 3 months, at least now, you were using the analog FPV. However, 30% of you say that you are using a digital from DJI. And if we compare that with the other, which we have to assume it's like Connexant or OpenHD and the Fat Shark Bite, we clearly see who is the winner. And no, analog is not really the winner, because 1.5 years ago, nobody really used DJI, and now, less than 2 years later, they have 30% of the market share. And now, multi-rotors. Flying style, you know, freestyle wins, but everybody can say they are flying freestyle, even they cannot fly really well. But this also applies to me, but not to big surprise. Anything that gives me fun is the second most popular answer. And the most popular software for the multi-rotors. To not much surprise, Betaflight wins, because 86% of you say that you are using the Betaflight on at least one of your multi-rotors. Enough with the second place. On one hand, I kinda hoped that more of you would be using INAV, but still, we have 30% of the share. That's kinda like nice. And then we have EmuFlight, Ardu Pilot, and some people say that they, for the kicks, are still on the multi-wii. Really hard to believe, but maybe that's really the reality. GPS. How do we use GPS? Yes, because we would like to be able to return home or to record speed. Still, only 15% of the people that use GPS say that they are using this for waypoint missions, so probably this is not really super important, and 35% say that we are not using GPS modules at all. I was kind of expecting this number to be closer to 60, not only 35%, but you know. And my builds are, yeah, like expected, grand majority of you are building your quads, multi-rotors, by yourself, but 15% design O-frames. kudos for you, because this is really a super fun. And now, airplanes, because you know, the FPV Hobby is not only about the drones, we still do love airplanes, the good old foamies that you can build and then crash and then destroy without much effort. So, how? Yeah, I probably could have figured out more flying styles on the airplanes, but to not much surprise, anything that gives me fun really wins by the factor in front of the long range. But long range, I should have defined what really long range means. And now, the flight controllers for the airplanes. Here, yes, I'm finally happy, because 69%, almost 70% of the participants in the survey say that they are using enough. Good for you! And on the other hand, I was kind of surprised that only 16% use ArduPilot. Maybe I have not advertised it enough in the ArduPilot world, but I do not really have a lot of connections over there, so maybe that's why. And I was very much surprised that 20% tried to use Betaflight on the airplanes, but why? But okay, I'm not judging. I'm not judging, guys. I'm only asking a question, why? But okay, it's there. It's there. If you really want to, you can, but why? Okay, like I said, I'm not judging. I only ask a question. I use GPS 4 one more time without much surprise. It's the GPS rescue, return to home, because yeah, you know, this is really useful stuff. And my builds are, I was kind of expecting that more people are designing their own foam airplanes. This is really a simple stuff and not that complicated as many people can see, so I was really hoping to see something like 30, maybe even 40% on the scratch built homemade airplanes. And to not too much surprise, majority of you just buy everything and then assemble everything by themselves. And that, my friends, is the state of the hobby Q1 2021. Like I mentioned before, you can either watch the previous section of this video again to get the answer, or follow the link in the description to my webpage with the screenshots of every question and every answer posted in the nicely digestible way. And what else? I was surprised, honestly was surprised how much of the market FrSky lost during the last 2 years. Yes, I know that they are still with the 50, but if we take a look of how much traction and how many people migrated to Jumper Radiomaster or the TBS Tango 2, we see how not popular FrSky is really getting right now. And I was also, to be honest, kind of surprised to see that, well, people are using EmuFlight on the Flying Wings. That's really like not something I really expected, but well, one more time, I'm not judging, I'm only asking a questions. We will definitely repeat this poll in a few months. Probably somewhere around June, maybe July, because maybe I think this is a good idea to run this kind of the poll every few months. Maybe not every quarter, because that will be too much, but every half a year is definitely a good idea. And then we will be able to compare, for example, does the tiny whoops are really like 44% of you are using tiny whoops, even during the summer when you can fly wherever you want? Good question. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching, thank you for all the answers, and thank you to all my friends that helped me to propagate the information about this poll. This applies to you, Gal Kremer, Lee Sheffield, Painless360 by the way, or Joshua Bardwell, all the others who were willing enough to post a link to this poll. Thank you very much, and until the next one. Bye bye.